Hey, everybody, welcome back. And once again, we are greeted with Dr. Hardt. Dr. Hardt, thank you so much for being with us again.
Doug, I'm so happy to hang out with you.
I always am. It's a highlight of my time.
I look
Dr. Hardt,
forward to this.
oh, excuse me. Yeah. Dr. Hardt, this one is a selfish question, if I may. Is you sent out an email, which I happened to be part of. I was on the email chain. And in there, you talked about non-dualism. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. Let me give you a little context. I was talking with an engineer who, like many engineers, is very in his rational mind. And it began with a conversation about tones, because at Biocybernaut, we urge people to turn up their feedback tones as loud as is comfortable. And this engineer remembered many years ago doing some auditory feedback on brainwaves and wanting the tones to be quiet because he said that way he could focus. And so I go, well, focus is the disease of the rational mind. And it's what prevents people from experiencing high, clear, altered states of consciousness. And of course, it prevents the experience of non-duality. Because when you're focused, you're very clear that you are the person that is focusing, and there is a specific thing that is not you that you're focusing on. And so there's layers of encrustations of dualism. And so I began by saying, well, at Biocybernaut, we tell people to listen to the tones as though their life depended on it, but not to do it in a stressful way, to do it in a way that involves what we call engaged indifference. So you do your absolute best and you completely don't care about whether there's any result. You go into indifference about the results, even though you work as hard as you can on it. You focus, you not focus, you attend. In fact, in the early years of brainwave feedback, there was a clinician, a researcher named Les Femi, and he coined the phrase open focus. Well, that's kind of like an oxymoron because open and focus are the opposite. Focus is a narrowing and open is the opposite of narrowing, but it catches people's attention. Everybody knows how to focus, whether they think they're good at it or not. They know our culture teaches focus. So if you put the word open with it, it's like, putting a cat with the pigeons. And all of a sudden there's like, some turmoil and the established order gets disrupted, and maybe people will have a moment where they aren't focusing and they're in openness. And so we tell people to listen to the tones as though your life depended, but also to fall in love with your tones as quickly as you can. Feedback, learning, the brainwave training, any learning requires feedback. And so if you inherently love the feedback, every level of your mind, your conscious and your unconscious levels are going to cooperate in making more of whatever it is you're doing feedback to produce. And so Bill Harris in his last book said that of the four things that people have voluntary control over, one of those is what you like, choosing what you like. And I tell people, for example, I like chocolate ice cream better than vanilla. But if I were to put my mind to it, I could cause myself, I could have a whole bunch of reasons why I should like, and I do like vanilla better than chocolate. And so by falling in love with your tones, you normally when people start a task, they're using their 20,000 bit per second conscious processor to accomplish the task. And then they hear the tones, the feedback tones as tones. But when control gets handed off from that focus-able 20,000 bit per second conscious processor to the 4 billion bit per second unconscious processor, all of a sudden the learning speeds up and people start hearing the tones not as tones, but as music. the melodies of their mind, and the learning accelerates and goes deeper, and people then can have the experience of non-duality. I can recall one feedback session that I had where I was so far out of rational anything that when I came to do the mood scales at the end, I was saying no to almost everything because, well, let's say, what about angry? Well, there had to, for you to feel angry, there had to be someone or something that you're angry at, and that you had to be the one that was angry. Well, there was no separation between me and anything. In fact, as I went through saying no, 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 no to almost everything, I actually said no to the word whole, WHOLE, but the computer nailed me, and I got 8 sigmas on whole. So there was at some level an awareness of wholeness. Now, most recently, I've been doing tune-ups at the Alpha 12 level, and we have 24 levels of the Alpha training. And there's a lot of scores on the screen. I don't know, it's like 20 or 25 scores, something like that. And of course, the colors. And when in Alpha Enhancement, if you go up, the score of whatever head site went up, the numbers are blue. If you go down, it's white. If you go up and set a new high, it's green. So the more greens, the better. That means you're really doing great. And so I'd be sitting there, experiencing the tones to the extent possible, being the tones. And when the scores would come up, let's say pretty much everything on the right side went green, then as I'm looking at the scores, all those greens, a thought comes, well, gee, that's probably because, and then I relate back to an experience, a high that I was having during that epoch. When I was having it, I wasn't having the experience of being high. I was thinking, oh, wow, I'm high. But when I see the result, then I come out of non-duality into being, oh, yeah, there was somebody there. If I were to think about it, his name would be Jim. And he got a result. He got new high scores. And there was an experience associated with that, a delicious, wonderful experience. But when I'm in it, when I'm being it, there's nobody home. There's not an awareness of, oh, I'm really doing good, or I'm having a high. That experience would be duality, and I was in non-duality. And so only sort of retrospectively, after seeing that a part of my brain had gone to new highs and the scores were green, would I go, oh yeah, and that was, oh yeah, and then I had this high. It was this really neat feeling, buzzing in my head or whatever. And so in terms of non-duality, there is a subset of the consciousness development, consciousness expansion movement, which features and talks about non-duality, in fact, maybe even permanent non-duality. And so going way, way back, I would often only know I was doing something if, like, one of my professors, Daryl Bam being a highlight example, would say, oh, well, what you were doing was, and I go, oh, really? Well, that's interesting, because I wasn't aware of what I was doing, I was being. And so it's so delicious to be able to go into those states of non-duality through the mechanism of this amazing and intricate, highly evolved technology that has been coming through me since the late 60s.
Wow. Absolutely amazing, as always, Dr. Hardt. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge with all of us and taking the time.
Thank you, Doug. It's a rare opportunity to actually put some of this into words and to share it with you. And thank you so much for asking.
Hi, I'm Tony Robbins. Listen, if you are looking to improve your brain, your psyche, your ability, your emotions, your ability to really maximize your performance, and you want to really dig into your brain, my dear friend, Dr. Jim Hardt, and his Biocybernaut program is extraordinary. I've been through it myself. My wife Sage has, members of my family have, and we found it to be truly extraordinary. But it is not for the faint at heart. Unless you're dead serious about really taking things to the next level, don't bother. We went through the alpha program designed to maximize your ability to create alpha waves. And it was challenging and it was incredibly rewarding. And I'd recommend it to anybody serious about improving the quality of their lives or including the quality of their family lives as well. So check out Cybernaut, check out Dr. Jim Hardt. And if you do, I think you'll be really, really pleased. And the entire time you are learning to think and how you think these electrodes create sounds. And you learn how to put yourself in the zone of alpha. But it's a bitch. It's horrible. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody that wants easy experiences, but I'd recommend it to anybody that wants to grow immensely. And by the first day, I'm like, who do I got to shoot to get out of this thing? Oh, it's me. I'm the one that did this shit, right? But by the end of the week, all three of us were able to go in this state of alpha. And if you're familiar with alpha, the best way I can describe alpha is there's no problem that can't be solved in alpha. Because every problem that we have was created by us.
Thank you for being here and absorbing this information about the science of brainwaves and about the stories of people whose lives have been beneficially altered, improved by doing brainwave training at Biocybernaut. And now I'm reaching out to you to invite you to come and be a part of the Biocybernaut adventure. Biocybernauts are to inner space what astronauts are to outer space. So come and adventure with us. And if you'd like to leave a comment on the videos, you can do that, or there's a link you can click if you'd like to learn more. We welcome you to Biocybernaut.